Yoma Daf Chov Gimel. We have a very powerful email today from Rabbi Yisrael Goldstein from Borough Park. It's a long one, I'm going to skip around. He says, we say every day after Shacharis, and when Mashiach will come, all Klal Yisrael will gather together, and we'll all be excited to be together. And Mashiach might ask, why are you so excited to be with all different types of Yidden? What did you do before I came? And to that, we're all going to say, well, Al Nag Ba'omer, this year, every Jew in the world really felt the pain of another Yid. But why wait for tragedy, says Rabbi Yisrael? Let all of Klal Yisrael show their love every day and all the time. I've done my share of travels with the Kira group around the states to all different types of communities, but I haven't seen anything like the camaraderie that takes place at MDY Global, sitting every night on Zoom with all walks of life, making a scene with all types of dress wear styles and designs, traveling for hours, and joining in on simchas with people we have never physically met before. Tehillim groups, chesed groups, giving out gemaras, etc., etc., the list goes on. I stand tall and proud to call myself a MDY member, because I know that when Mashiach does come and ask this question, I won't be standing there with my tongue hanging out. Lots of love to all of Klal Yisrael, Yisrael Goldstein, beautiful. So let's get into the sikum of Yoma Daf Chov Gimel. The Gemara tells us, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring Shaul to the whole story with Hagag? He didn't want to kill him, and then he lost his melucha, and he was sentenced to Misa, because Shaul had such midas and he was meichel on his own kavod, and a king should not be meichel on his kavod. Melech shemachal kavod ein kavod nemachal. If a person, let's call him Reuven, asks Shimon to borrow a magal, a sickle, and Shimon says no. The next day, Shimon asks Reuven, can I borrow your axe? And he says, no, you didn't give me the sickle, why should I give you the axe? That's called nekama, nikima. But what if he gives it to him? He says, here's the axe, but I'm not like you. You didn't give me the sickle, but I'm going to give you that. That's called netira. Rav Shimon ben Yotzaddik says that a Talmid Chacham, if they embarrassed him, he must act like a snake and be noikim ben noiter. He has to hold the hatred in his heart and stick up for b'zayin HaTorah. That is, that if somebody else wants to be noikim for the Talmid Chacham, he's not going to be moich, he's going to allow it to happen. However, if the person that did the b'zayin comes and asks mechila, it's a good idea for the Talmid Chacham to be moich, because it says hamaver al midaisav mavirim le'akol pshav. Person who forgives, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will forgive him. However, when it comes to monetary things, somebody damaged him monetarily, he shouldn't be noikim v'noiter. He shouldn't have any sort of machshav in his heart. The famous, beautiful Gemara of Haneh Love Veinim Olga. People who hear their disgrace, people embarrass them, they don't say anything in return. They might answer but not embarrass in return. This is the next step. They don't even answer at all. Or if they do mitzvahs me'ahava, or they're happy with Yisurim, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them Yisurim, they're happy with it. Torah says, just like the sun didn't say anything when the moon was complaining about their size, the sun was rewarded that it's the larger one. The moon is only a reflection of the sun. We learned in the Mishnah that eventually they made a lottery and they put all the Kohanim in a circle. The healthy ones would stick out one finger, but someone who's sick and can't really move his finger very well, he can put out two. But they're only going to count it as one. But he should never put out the middle finger, and if he does, they count the middle finger and the etzba as a one. But you should never ever put out a thumb, because with that you could cheat, and the coin might count it as two, and in the next round around you'll win. And if he gets caught with his thumb out, they take him out of the circle and they give him malchus with a pakia, which is thin ropes, which hurts a lot. Before the story of the guy that fell off the mizbeach, there's a terrible story where there were two people running up the ramp, and it was the race was a tie. One of them took out a knife and stabbed the other one in the heart, and he was withering around. And Rabbi Tzaddik got up and he wanted everybody to cry, and he said, if by Egla Arufa one person dies, you need a kapara. Who's going to give a kapara over here for this person? And everybody started crying. There's no Egla Arufa in Yerushalayim, because Yerushalayim goes according to this man, the Omar, that wasn't divided between the Shvatim. And we also know exactly who killed him, so there's no Egla Arufa here. His father shows up and he says, my son should be a kapara for your sin. But unbelievably, he says, take out the knife immediately so it doesn't become tameh. In other words, Ritzicha was so belittled by them. They became desensitized to Ritzicha from Menashe killing all the people, that they didn't care so much about Ritzicha, they cared more about Tumat Tahara. It's an amazing story. But the Gemara said, that was a one-time thing. Somebody got killed. Who's going to stab somebody else? But after they saw that somebody else pushed his friend off the mizbeach, they said, let's go to the lottery. To remove all the ashes from the mizbeach, you have to put on other clothing. They're big day kodesh, but a lesser degree. They might be a little worn out. They're white, not yellow. Because if somebody is a cook and he prepares food for his Rebbe, he's not going to go pour him wine with the same clothing. It's designed to do so. So too, these clothing are full of ashes and they smell from the smoke of the mizbeach. You have to switch them out. Rabbi Eliezer says, Acherim doesn't refer to other clothing, rather means the other type of kohanim, those who have balimumim, they should perform the avodah of removing the ashes of tzas hadesh. Why? Because it's not considered an avodah. According to Rish Lakish, according to everybody, trumas hadeshin, taking off one little spoonful of shovelful and bringing it to the side of the mizbeach, is also not considered an avodah. And according to Rabbi Eliezer, a balmum can perform trumas hadeshin as well. The Torah, and its proof is the Torah only says that you have to wear two clothings, a ksainas and michnasayim. It doesn't talk about the four. Reuven says, of course it means all four. Anytime a kohen performs that avodah, it's all four. So why does the Torah pick dafka those things, michnasayim and ksainas? Because when it talks about ksainas, it doesn't say ksainas. It says midai bat, to say that it has to fit him perfectly. It can't be dragging on the floor. It can't be too high up. It has to be on the ground. Michnasayim bat says that it should be the first thing he wears. The trousers are the first things he wears, and that's it. Nothing else below it. Rish Lakish says, I learned that halacha from Al Basarai. This is machlokes Tanoim, which would seem similar, but it's not. That according to everybody, you need 4 begadim for trumas hadashim because it's considered an avodah. But they argue if the word yilbash is extra to teach us something else. According to Rabbi Yehuda, I need the word yilbash to teach us that you have to wear 4 begadim. According to Rabbi Daisa, you don't need that because it's considered an avodah, and if it's avodah, you have to wear 4 begadim. So what does the word yilbash come to tell us? That the big day kohen gadol, the begadim that kohen gadol wears after Yom Kippur, a head could wear it as well. The kohen gadol himself should not wear it next year. And Rebbe says no, it's completely different begadim because the kohen gadol wears the white belt, where the kohen hedi wears the shatnez belt. So it comes to teach us that if they're worn out, then you're allowed to wear it as well. But you have to take those begadim and bury them after Yom Kippur. Have a wonderful day.